In this video, we will have a deeper look at the source and the drain. First, we will have a look at the statistics that the source and the drain provide. Therefore, we open the dialog of the source and change the amount of produced parts to 1000. As soon as you change the amount of produced parts, you will see that the checkbox next to the field is changed. This denotes that the inheritance of this attribute of the instance is cut. In this way, the source is not inheriting the value for this attribute from the origin anymore. If you want to turn on inheritance for this attribute, just click the checkbox and click Apply. We then click on Start the full speed simulation. In this way, the simulation is started in full speed. Double-click the drain now to open its dialog. Click the tab, type Statistics, to see the most relevant statistic data of the produced parts. On this tab, we can see the average lifespan of the products, the total throughput, and the total lifespan. The source also provides statistics. We can open them by double-clicking the source and switching to the Statistics tab. Here we can see, for example, the entries, which stands for the created parts, and exits, which stands for the parts that left the source. Now we will switch to the Attributes tab and change the creation type of parts. If we click on the drop-down at MU selection, you can choose from 6 different modes. Here, MU is an abbreviate for movable unit. At the box under MU selection, we can see that the part to be delivered is set to MU part. The path of the part is an absolute path, and the star at the front is an object reference. If we open the folder MU at the class library, you will see that the location of the MU is there, as stated in the path. If we now change the name of the part and reopen the dialog of the source, you will see that the name has changed accordingly. This is due to the object reference indicated by the star in front of the path. We will now have a look at other MU selection types. If we change the MU selection to percentage, we need to specify a table object. We can create a table object from the Information Flow tab. Therefore, we will move the dialog to the left and create a new table object. This table object is currently unformatted. If we open the table object, you will see that there is no proper column to enter a percentage. It is just a raw table. We will now drag and drop the table object into the dialog of the source. In this way, we did successfully parameterize the source. The source will now, with plain words, look into the table and produce objects according to the parameters we will enter. If we now reopen the table, you will see that it is formatted. There is also a second way to parameterize the source. Therefore, we again create a source and a table object. Now we do not change the MU selection to percentage. Instead, we now just drag and drop the table onto the graphic of the source. If we open the source now, you will see that the MU selection changed to sequence cyclical, and if we open the table, you will see as well that it is formatted. However, it is still not in a proper format to enter percentages. The reason for this is that Plant Simulation changed the MU selection to sequence cyclical. However, it needs to be percentage. We change this now to percentage and click OK. Now a pop-up will show up that states that the table object will be formatted. We click Yes, and as you can see, now the row to enter percentages is added. If you double-click the table now, you can see 5 columns. The first column represents the objects that are supposed to be produced. We can drag and drop MU from the class library into each row. In this example, we will use 2 individual parts. We will now duplicate the part in the MU library twice. In this way, we create new user objects. Customized MU will always be placed at the folder User Objects. Then we rename the parts in Screw and Nut. To differentiate the parts visually, we will use two different colors. To edit the color of the parts, we right-click on it and then click on Edit 3D Properties. Here we click on the tab Appearance. Now we check the box material Active. This cuts the inheritance, and we can edit the colors of the part. At Diffuse Color, we select Red. We do the same for the nuts. Now we drag and drop our parts from the class library into the first two rows. In the next column, we can enter the percentages. We want an equal number of parts, therefore we enter 50 and 50. In the next column, we can enter the batch size of production. We want a batch size of 4 and 2. Since we entered a 50-to-50 ratio, Plant Simulation will let the source first produce 2 nuts and then the 4 screws. In this way, Plant Simulation will make sure that a 50-to-50 ratio is achieved and 4 screws and 2 nuts are produced consecutively. The next column is provided to assign names to the parts produced. As we already named the MU screw and nut, we do not need to enter a name. In this way, the instance part will inherit its name from the class. The last column can be used for additional user-defined attributes. These attributes can be specified in a subtable, which is created once you type in a name in the respective row. You can now double-click on that cell to open the subtable. In this table, we can provide further information about the part. You can provide a name for the attribute in the first column and specify its value by choosing a column that reflects its data type. You can provide, for example, the cost of a part by typing cost in the first column and then specifying a value for it in column 14. In this way, if there is no user-defined attribute with the same name in the class, it will be created. And if there is a user-defined attribute in the class with the same name, it will be assigned the value you entered here. We reset the simulation and can now start the simulation. As you can see, the parts are produced according to the parameters we entered in the data table. If we now fast forward the simulation and open the dialog of the drain, then switch to the tab type Statistics and click on Detailed Statistics table, we can get an even more precise insight at the statistics of the drain. In the first column, we see the time. This tells us when the last MU arrived. In the second column, we see the total throughput. It is 500 to 500 as we entered a total production number of 1000. The distribution of the parts is 50 to 50. The next 4 columns are for the lifetime. They tell us the mean, the standard deviation, and the minimum and maximum lifetime. If you want to get even more information, you can have a look at the remaining columns. For any further information about the columns, you can also look in the help. This concludes our video about the source and the drain.